This is the Savage FINcast, Episode 1. This time, it's for real. Well, we're back again for, another month, another issue. Savage Dragon, what is it, 176, right? I'm losing my mind.
Yes, 176.
And, this is Episode 1, and this time it's for real. So, let's go around and reintroduce ourselves. I'm Jim Purcell. I'm a Savage Dragon fan.
Craig Olson, Savage Dragon fan, co-creator of Savage Dragon Wiki and DragonFan.net, which we'll talk about later.
Yep. And now we have a new host, podcaster, I guess is the proper term. Adam O.
Hello, I'm Adam O. Pruitt, and I actually hate Savage Dragon.
Oh no!
Can't believe they still publish it. Oh, he's just Hulk with a fin. Blah 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 blah. I thought this was G.I. Joe podcast.
Darn it! How do you get in the door?
Sorry.
Unfortunately, Nick, who was with us last time, can't make it this week. We hope to have him back soon. He's got to be up early tomorrow. But I guess Adam will have to do.
I'll try to fill Nick's enormous shoes.
So, Image Comics news. Image Expo coming up in California, I hear. I'm not totally familiar with all the details, except for I probably can't go, because it's in California. Adam, you said you got the press release.
Yeah, it's right in front of me. It's February 24th through 26th at the Oakland Convention Center. It's a 3-day celebration of creator-owned comics. Obviously, it's the Image Expo, but they're stressing that it's a celebration of creator-owned comics, I think, more so than just Image Comics. Lots of Image creators going to be there. The partners, Kirkman, Larson, McFarlane, Silvestri, Valentino, as well as special guests like Rob Liefeld, Will Spertasio, Joe Casey, Jay Ferber, Jonathan Hickman, Ryan Otley, Richard Starkings, and probably gobs of other people that haven't been announced yet.
All-star team-up event.
Yeah. Definitely going to be pretty cool. I think it's since Comic-Con International is not doing WonderCon in the Bay Area this year, I think that's why they're doing this.
Mm-hmm. So this isn't a trade show per se. It's basically a creator get-together with lots and lots of panels, I assume.
That's what it sounds like to me as well, yes.
Yeah, there really hasn't been any additional information besides that one press release. I've been kind of looking up. I've been waiting to hear what kind of panels and whatnot, but I haven't seen anything. But I do hope that the Kirkman, Larson, McFarlane, Silvestri, Valentino, Liefeld, and Portasio all get together and finish Image United. Yes. How cool would that be?
Yeah, they could do it while we watch at gunpoint.
They're all together. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Kidnap them, put them in a room.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like it'd be awesome. I can imagine, it's creator owned, so you'll probably get, probably Dark Horse guys will be there, like,
Yeah, for sure.
Eric Powell or, Remender or whatever, hopefully, It'd be nice to get one on the East Coast, but...
Well, there's something like that here on the East Coast. It's not, this is higher profile, being Image Comics and all, but on the East Coast over here, it's in the New England area, we've got the webcomic weekend that happens once a year where all these webcomic artists and writers get together, and they're really on the cutting edge of creator-owned and independent comics, as well as the internet comics as well. I've never been able to actually go, but one of these days.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's supposed to be pretty cool, too.
But yeah, the Image Expo, if I had $1,000 laying around, I would definitely fly out there and go.
Yeah, this is happening I just moved away from the Bay Area,
oh, no.
So of course it's happening now. But I think I'll make the trip out for it. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I usually go to WonderCon, and so this actually sounds cooler than WonderCon. So
I don't really pay attention to the con scene. So WonderCon's a usual thing that happens that isn't happening this year.
Yeah, usually happens in downtown San Francisco, and it's sort of Image's home show, just because it's the closest, biggest show.
They're based out of Berkeley, right?
Right. And the place that they usually hold it, the Moscone Center, is undergoing renovation, and I think Comic-Con International, instead of just moving it to another building, they're oh, well, let's do something different and have it in LA this year, even though there's already tons of shows in LA. So, I remember when that was announced, a lot of the people at Image were not happy.
I got it.
So I think they probably were like, well, shit, why don't we just do our own? And
we do our own. It's what we do. Let's go do our own thing.
I mean, I'm just inferring from some of that, right. But that's what it seems like. So.
And tell you the truth, it sounds like the perfect con for someone like me, because looking at those creators, those are the guys' books that I read anyway. Like for the most part, it's, Kirkman, Larson. I read Invincible with Otley and Kirkman. Savage Dragon. I'm gonna start getting those Liefeld books when Supreme comes out, and Glory and stuff like that. I read Haunt, sure. Elephant Man. It's every book that I pretty much collect these days. The guys are all going to be in one spot. So if I was a left coaster, I would be there. Should we move on to the next little bit of news? All right, it's not a strong news month, but Larson debuted the cover to issue 180.
And it is a cover.
I think it's one of my favorites that I've seen him do for the entire run of Savage Dragon. I
love the pipes. I love the pipes in the background.
Which pipes?
The pipe, the
sewer. So not
pipe.
Malcolm's arms. Pretty predominant.
And for anyone that hasn't seen the cover of 180, you can go on, Eric Larson's message board, or there's links on the Savage FINcast website to the message board, or dragonfan.net, and you can see the cover of 180. But
I'll direct link it when I host this the radio program, so everyone can bask in its glory.
Sweet.
And it's it looks like Angel's down for the count and a bunch of sewer water, and
we're gonna call it sewer water.
And the Tyrus Combine is kind of surrounding them. That's what it looks like, at least. A bunch of monster hands in the forefront.
Monsters in a sewer. That is classic.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
The detail is impressive, because I don't know, to me, for a couple of years now, Eric seems to have been focusing on more of a minimalist line art style, letting the coloring show more of the texture to things, and it seems like he's getting back to doing his own line work. And I think it looks better. Of course, that's just from my observation. I could be way off base.
Yeah, he's always experimenting. He's always changing up how he's doing stuff. But he had a little while there where, when he was coloring and lettering the book, where it got real weird and real expressive. I actually really love those issues, but a lot of people don't. But I kind of love the some of the stuff that almost looks like Ashley Wood, like it was thrown down with a brush, and just real loose and expressive. But at the same time, I like this new stuff too, the little tighter, a little more detailed. I just like seeing change happen constantly, and that's sort of what he does.
That is just one constant change.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the book enjoyable. I can see, there's a lot of people out there that resist change, and that's maybe hurts the book, but, I think it's great that there's constant change. It keeps it fresh, keeps it going. It keeps old, longtime fans into it, I think.
Yeah.
Then just to move on, another bit of news is kind of on my end. I debuted dragonfan.net's new blog, and I had a little bit of help. Co-created that with Raven Perez, and that kind of started with about 7 years ago. I did dragonfan.com, and that was kind of like my fan website for Savage Dragon. And
yeah, I remember that. That was a cool site.
Thank you. I kind of gave up on it 2 or 3 years ago. I just didn't have the time. 7 years ago, the web was completely different. It wasn't, not many people were using blogs, I don't think.
Yeah.
People weren't utilizing YouTube. There weren't really many podcasts that people were getting into. And, it was more of a static web page, and I just couldn't keep up with it. My job started taking more and more time. And Raven Perez approached me. Raven's one of the forum members, is a pretty active Savage Dragon fan, about helping him with a blog. And blogs these days, it's just so easy to work and just, publish anything real quick, a link to a YouTube video or someone else's site. So
or a FINcast.
We're going to use dragonfan.net as kind of like a point source for all Savage Dragon news. So it's going to be more like the Drudge Report or a Huffington Post of Savage Dragon. So I'll just be adding any kind of cool Savage Dragon related thing I see on another website. I'll be linking it from dragonfan.net and anything from the forums and stuff like that. So hopefully it's like you don't have to read through a bunch of crap to find like the juicy details. It'll all be posted in one spot.
Yeah, one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, I mean, links to the wiki page, links to the the FINcast, links to the forum. Just a one point shopping area there. But that's going well. We've been kind of working on it for a few weeks now, and we've also got like a Twitter going on. Dragon Fan Blog is the Twitter. And that's the same thing, even if it's like smaller things that might not be worthy of making a blog post on it, I'll post it on Twitter, and it's just a way to kind of get the fan base rallied around Savage Dragon because it's my favorite book, and I want more people to start reading it.
Yes, more people reading Savage
spreading
Dragon.
The word can't hurt.
Cannot hurt. Are you one of the ones working on the flyer?
I think some of my text was used for the flyer, and I think what's going to happen is the dragonfan.net's also going to have a couple of static pages besides the blog. One's going to be like maybe for the flyer, just to get new readers kind of interested. We'll have a separate page for that, and then I think we might have something like a page that just lists like all the trades and the order codes and stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Seems like the hardcore fan base is really getting into promoting the book right now. I'm kind of curious what exactly is spurring that. I know for me, it was with issue 175. I've been wanting to give something back for a while, and the idea of doing a podcast has been in my head for a while, and I thought putting the two together would maybe do some good.
I think, to be honest, I think a lot of people took notice of the book again after 168. I think everybody was like, whoa. You just transition the lead like all of a sudden without hyping it for years like everybody else does. And because around that time there seemed to be a lot of reviews and stuff. And then that coinciding with 175 being sort of not exactly an anniversary issue, but a good milestone kind of for a creator-owned book to come to. It's just been in the press a little bit. And I think maybe more people who weren't reading it maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, are reading it now. There's definitely a lot of people out there who are reading it for Malcolm, as we're seeing like on the forums and stuff, and that's cool. Whatever gets them into it. So,
I mean, I think also when you look at it, there's not many books anymore that are up around issue 175. This is the new age where every book's around issue 3 from DC, and Marvel books are canceled and rebooted left and right. It's, people are starting to say, where are those books out there that, the creative teams haven't changed much and the creators have stuck with the book and I want to jump on those because all my books that I was following for, 10 plus years have all rebooted.
Yep.
But, I think it's great. And I think, also on the forum, a lot of what started, I think it was Gavin Higginbotham that, everyone knows that's on the forum. For those who don't go on the forum, he's kind of like the Uber Savage Dragon fan that's a database of Savage Dragon.
Someday we'll have him on a podcast.
Yeah, well, he started a thread about, I think it was him that started, how can we promote Savage Dragon or how can we, get the word out. And I think from that thread, it ran like 14 pages of everyone spitting ideas out. And out of that thread, it seemed like this podcast came out, dragonfan.net came out, we're working on that essay to kind of like publish about why people should purchase Savage Dragon. So kind of spurred a lot of good ideas.
Banging our heads together. Yeah. Hopefully something sticks.
And it's been fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other news? I've at a blank now.
Say the last bit of news is just in the past few days, Eric has been hitting up his Twitter, Eric J. Larson on Twitter, about a hardcover kind of. I don't know if it's like an omnibus type hardcover, but I don't know what you got out of it, Adam. I know we were talking about it a little before we started recording.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's just more of a he's continuing to have the conversation and reminding people that yes, these are coming at some point. I don't think we're close to an announcement, although I couldn't say. I really don't know.
Well, I know the listings for the hardcovers like pop up on Amazon like once a quarter because you have to put stuff. You know, if you're putting out a book in a bookstore, you got to put it out further in advance than you do a comic that you solicit through Diamond. So they appear, and so he's kind of got to tell people that yes, he's working on it, but maybe not.
Well, and just because I think he gets asked all the time.
Oh yeah,
and because the trade program being what it is, and the archives being where they are in the archives, and
archives.
I know he wants to do those big old fat hardcover books, even including some of the stuff that was, not just in the main book, but some of the backup comics and maybe some issues of Freak Force and stuff.
Oh, he does want to put in the
that's what it's sounding more like not everything, but like the stuff that's really, really relevant to understanding the story.
Right.
Like the Freak Force 10, the introduction of Joey Finkelberry, that came up. And I could definitely see that because that's pretty much as much of a Dragon story or more than it is a Freak Force story. He's like the main character in that story. So, and then I could see a lot of the other stuff like the backups leading to formation of Freak Force from the first few issues of the ongoing. I could see that stuff being incorporated because that stuff's real relevant to introducing all those characters like Rapture and. Helping set up Mighty Man and those guys.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing I know on the Twitter, he was kind of like asking for opinions on like dust jacket or no dust jacket. So he's feeling it out. I know there was kind of a couple of people who commented on like how cool the Godland, was it Godland? The second omnibus. I don't remember what it's called, but the Celestial Edition.
The Celestial Editions. Yeah, those are beautiful.
And I think Eric almost sounded like he was leaning towards a format like that with no slipcover, which I kind of like. I'm not a big fan of slipcovers, but
I love the Godland ones where they just print everything like right on the book, and that size is a good size too. Like
you mean no dust jacket, right?
No dust jacket.
That's what. Yeah.
Sorry, just printed right onto the book.
Yeah.
So that I think about wraps up the news, coming from Eric Larson land and Dragon.
There's one more little thing, but it's not really big. It's just that they just announced, all the companies are teasing their Free Comic Book Day 2012 books, and it sounds like Image is going to be doing, a celebration of 20 years of Image, and they're going to. It sounds like it'll be an anthology book of a number of different comics. They haven't announced what. It just says a mix of Image's old and new best loved characters. And so I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see some Dragon in there. Probably like Spawn, probably Invincible, maybe something else that's new and hot like Chew. Probably Youngblood because it's the first Image book and first million selling Image book kind of thing.
Another reprint of Youngblood.
No, I don't think this is reprints. I think this is just
short stories.
Yeah, 4-page, 5-page, something like that. Book for Free Comic Book Day. 4 pages each segment probably.
Okay.
If they're going to do a whole bunch of them, between 4 and 6 pages, I would think.
I like it when Free Comic Book Day content is new as opposed to reprints like DC tends to do and Marvel tends to do.
They've been good about doing like the last 4 or so. As far as I can remember, they've all been new content, the Image ones. So
Yep, they have. And most likely, like you said, Eric will be involved if it's a celebration of 20 years. And that, on that, I just, I'm wondering if Eric's going to do anything with Savage Dragon for the 20th anniversary, some kind of special.
Been 20
issue
years
with it.
already, man. I remember issue 100 in the 10th anniversary. That was basically when I was really getting into the book.
Yeah.
So, Savage Dragon, issue 176.
Let's get to
Let's
it.
get to it.
And if you look at the cover, for people that might not be longtime readers, it's kind of an homage to Savage Dragon issue 20, which was, Malcolm's father, Dragon, versus the original Overlord, and the same kind of, you see him in the reflection of Overlord's mask. So if you go online, or if you have the old issue, compare the two. It's pretty cool.
Speaking of comparing the two covers, just to dwell on that for a second, I had them both side by side here, and the new Overlord looks a bit different than that. I didn't really realize it quickly, but you can't see his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
His mouth is full of that Doctor Doom techno mouth
stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the original Overlord, he's got those crazy eyes and the teeth. And really, the cover really, reminded me of that. There is no indication that the new Overlord is human, let alone anyone we've ever met before.
Yeah, that's a good point. He may not be human. The whole machinery covering the mouth and not being able to see his eyes is it's there, so we don't know. Like, it's there, so we don't know. Oh, he's a white guy, like we did before.
Yeah, I mean, the original Overlord was Antonio Seghetti.
Yeah,
and then after him, the suit kind of ran. I think it was the cop Vic Nixon kind of took over. And I don't remember if you could see a mouth or eyes on that second version of Overlord. I don't know when Eric started doing that.
You could see his mouth, but you couldn't tell. I don't remember either. I remember that you could see teeth, but you might not have been able to see his skin color or something like that.
Yeah.
So there may have still been a question of whether it was a white guy or a black guy or a man or a woman, but you could see teeth. I think. If I'm remembering that correctly.
I think it's a living being inside there, and the reason why I say that, I don't know if you remember, it was when Overlord, it was the teaser before Overlord came back. It was like, it showed a picture of a guy sitting down, and you couldn't see his head in the shadows, but you could tell it was like a
guy with a big brow on his head.
Yeah. And I don't remember
who was Overlord.
Yeah, I don't remember what issue that was in, but that's why I kind of think it's somebody in there, and the tech in the mouth is more just kind of Eric going with his wacky designs, but I could be wrong.
No, I think it is a guy in there. I think you're right, but he's definitely making it so you can't see, as much as you could see before.
Right.
I have my theories on who Overlord is. I'm kind of disappointed that the issue didn't finally settle that, because I think we were all kind of anticipating this was the big issue, but wasn't to be.
I kind of like not knowing right away.
It's not
right away. It's been a couple years.
Oh, yeah. It's been like 2
But,
years.
I mean, the old issues of Savage Dragon used to have these, storylines that went on forever, too, and, you didn't find out right away. It might have been, things might have lasted 2 years before they were concluded. And I feel like in a lot of stories lately, things have just been wrapping up so fast or been concluded so fast that, hey, I like the mystery. I like keep guessing. Throw other villains in the mix in the meantime. Let us, keep guessing. But, I might be a minority on that.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's a slow burn, but it's, you enjoy it for, as it goes along. And if he doesn't spoon feed you the information, you gotta, it's gotta build up to it. And I think, there's a certain elegance to that.
I mean, I don't know. I don't read Marvel comics anymore, but I mean, how long did it take before, Doctor Doom was revealed? If he ever was, I don't know if his face was ever revealed.
I have no idea.
But we've seen his face a lot of different times, but I couldn't answer that question either.
I think it took a while though, but I kind of like having the main villain stick around in the back of the book. It seems like lately, since the Savage world after Cyberface, like major villains have kind of come and gone within 5 issues or whatever. Well, there hasn't been
Glum stuck around for a while.
Yeah, but at the same
but he wasn't like a huge threat until like a small set of issues. like he was sort of around for a long time, and then it was like, oh, like he's the bad guy. Like,
Yeah,
he always said he was going to be, but
he was just comic relief for a while and turned into a major villain.
Moving on to the first page, I like the title, Confrontation, how it kind of is like a double entendre with the story plot beats that go on in this issue. Mm-hmm. Between Dragon and this bully and Overlord. I mean, Malcolm and the bully and Malcolm and Overlord.
Definitely.
Also, it's a sweet looking title. Tom Orrs he's the man. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
What, he does the title sequences?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. All that kind of lettering, sound effects, everything.
Speaking of the bully, I've got something. This is going to be this might be a little thinking about things a little too far, but I wanted to bring up something that caught me when I was reading it. The bully walks up to Malcolm and he says, "Yo, Superman," and then he goes on to basically make fun of Malcolm by treating him as like, you know, a superhero. He walks up to Malcolm, all right, and he starts throwing all these superheroes at him, you know, to make him feel, you know, sort of inferior, I guess. He's trying to play the big man. In the Savage Dragon universe, it's kind of assumed that all the Marvel and DC superheroes exist out there somewhere, but we never see them. So whenever, you know, when Dragon crosses over with Superman like he did those 2 times, that actually happened to Dragon. Superman's out there somewhere. These are real. Right. These are real superheroes in these, you know, in these people's eyes. So how is it that the bully, or actually, I'm sorry, how does Malcolm know who Flash Thompson is?
Yeah, you are thinking about it too hard.
I think that, personally, I think that they don't exist. I think the Superman crossover was just that, like, kind of an Elseworlds type thing, or, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it did happen because there was an issue where Angel had Superman's cape afterwards.
She has his cape after that, that's right.
Yeah, so I guess it just works when he wants it to work, and you just kind of take it like that, you know. And in this universe, maybe Superman's the only, you know, outside company guy that's in the Image universe or something like that. But
yeah, but this isn't the first time that there's been, you know, like kind of comments that indicate knowledge about the inner workings of you know, characters that if those characters were real people in their world, they wouldn't know. They would have to be like reading them in comics. But Eric has said multiple times, I think, that he basically considers it to be a shared universe, and you know, that everybody's just in the same universe, and occasionally they'll cross over, and those crossovers will have inconsistencies usually, but I would just wouldn't think so hard about it, really. I think yeah, I think you're thinking about it harder than he is about it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it just caught me because that's part of Spider-Man's origin, which the public would not know if Spider-Man was a character living in New York in Savage Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. I would say to reread issue 36, because that one mentions, I think, more characters per page than any other one. Like, I haven't actually counted, but it certainly seems like every other line in that issue is a reference to some other superhero. Like,
you said 36.
Aquaman. Yeah, 30. It's the one where Star and company, they help rescue Peter Clapton because he's been kidnapped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that off the top of your head?
That's a good question.
So, moving on.
I think it's 36.
So let's just say we're confused about it.
Yeah. Well, like, the issues where Dragon had his series, is in talks with Stan Levi and the guy who kind of looks like John Byrne from Marvel Comics, and the whole thing is just a commentary about, you know, the way that comics are handled today, and has this like cutting, like biting commentary that Dragon is giving us, that he would have had to have been a lifetime comic book fan to know that kind of stuff. It's clearly just Eric talking through Dragon.
It was all stuffed in his head from broadcasts. You can't help but know it.
There you go.
Maybe Eric had a show that was broadcasted into Dragon's head. In this world, Eric was like a TV personality. That's why Dragon has this personality.
You guys get a no prize.
So then Overlord shows up and stops a bank robbery. What a noble hero.
Yeah, and I think, one of my favorite throwaway bad guys features Firepower. I think that's his name, the all-white guy. I love the design of his costume. I've always loved the design of his costume.
He's been around for a long time, right?
He has, yeah. And
he was the dude that first got rid of Overlord's cloak back in the day.
Yeah, thank God.
Up in front of, yeah.
Really glad he didn't get his head blown off.
Didn't he die, though, in, the original...
Yeah, in the original world, yeah.
Yeah.
He showed up, and then Overlord snapped his neck, and it was a pretty short-lived appearance, I think.
But he is a cool-looking dude. And he actually has showed up a couple of times in, post-Savage world, I think. One time he kind of crashed through the Rock House Diner, and maybe that was during the Stan Levi thing, I don't know. But
oh, yeah, maybe.
Back in the place there, but always good to see him. And then we get this other kind of green villain I've never seen before. I kind of wish Eric would just kind of use some of the older villains that he hasn't, the older Vicious Circle cast that he hasn't touched on in a while.
He looks like a Bud Ugly stand-in, because unfortunately Bud Ugly is already dead.
Yeah, but he's done.
Bud Ugly died? When did he die?
Didn't he die during Dragon War? Didn't he get injected and then
oh.
Yeah, murdered with everyone else by Kerr?
Yeah.
Man, I forgot.
Yeah, a lot of good...
That guy's been around forever.
Yeah, he was an awesome butt of all the jokes.
Rip low below. Then we see Angel. I didn't really catch it last issue. I didn't realize the Absorbanoids, that's how you pronounce that, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a great name, by the way. Apparently they sucked about 50 pounds out of her.
Yeah.
They I guess they absorb your energy when they grab onto you. We've seen that happen in past issues.
Mostly
and I don't think
weight, apparently.
If you look at her when it's happening in 174, she looks like pretty nasty. Like you can see she looks very skeletal.
Yeah.
And I think the first time that I read the issue, I was just kind of skimming through it, and I was like, whoa, he drew Angel weird there. But then I went back and was like, oh, that makes total sense. That's actually how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, it's kind of, she looks really ugly in this panel. And it's like, oh, well, I get it now.
Yeah.
But apparently Frank Jr. likes skinny chicks.
Mm-hmm. Well, you gotta get in where you fit in.
So we get panels of Angel and Frank Frank's putting the moves on.
He's just being a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, you get that panel on the bottom, the panel on the bottom right. It's just kind of like that dude in the waiting room just sitting there. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know what that's about, but hey, this dude's in the waiting room. Moving on.
John Day. It looks more like a dumb guy. Anyway, sorry.
Have we seen John Day in a while? I feel like he hasn't popped up in a long time. Maybe.
I was just thinking about that, and while you were talking, I was thumbing through this issue. I don't know if he's in it. Maybe Kerr killed him off.
I don't know if I've seen him in a while. I gotta say, maybe I probably haven't been looking real hard, but
yeah,
I was hoping for like an issue 175, like a John Day Krylin guy.
Yeah.
Nope, just Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
right.
That was weird. So, I mean, moving on after that scene, they kind of they have a scene with Malcolm talking to the little wise guys, and I know someone on the forums kind of addressed how they talk about, Malcolm putting on all the weight and the little wise guys kind of not really aging. So I don't know what your guys' takes on that. Why you think the little wise guys kind of still look the same after?
They were in suspended animation for a long time. Maybe their genetic structure is breaking down.
I think this is going to be addressed. I mean, I don't think this is just like a throwaway, oh, that's kind of weird kind of comment. I think this is actually going to be something that happens, that they have to, I don't know, that they is addressed further in the coming issues.
I wonder if Daredevil might be affected by whatever is preventing them from aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
So does that mean PJ's going to get all huge and they all stay the same size?
That would make sense.
And I guess, I don't know, I guess Malcolm just got so huge because he's not human. Maybe that's just the way his race, he's a half-breed Krylin. Maybe
Malcolm did sort of blow up really quickly. I mean, remember when he was really young, he was like a stick, but he'd still punch you with like the force of his dad. But then all of a sudden he turned into Dragon, like overnight.
That Krylin puberty is a powerful thing, I guess.
I guess so.
Putting on his chosen one weight.
Yeah, it's all in the arms.
And then Overlord shows up. Anyone else think there's two like really sweet looking full page spreads?
The one where Malcolm punches Overlord is one of my favorite pages.
But anyone else
awesome.
think it's weird that he seemed to have intentionally put it into a box that's smaller than the page? Wouldn't you think it'd look better if it was like all the way to the edges?
I think what he's doing is he's drawing bigger and reducing the pages more.
Oh.
I think he's drawing closer to Silver Age size or something like that. Like he's drawing on a weird size, or maybe he's just, instead of staying inside the like 10 by 15 box on the artboards, he may be going all the way to the edge of the page to the like 11 by 17, and then where you would normally do that is just to have a full bleed. But maybe he's doing that and reducing it more, because I think he started doing that a few issues ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know he goes.
I
know he likes going for like a Silver Age. He likes panels, basically, and I mean that's cool. I mean, I enjoy the fact that he likes to play around with the old styles like that. But sometimes I think that those restrictions. The reason why Silver Age comics look the way they do is because there were certain restrictions on how you drew them and how they were reproduced, and that's why they look the way they do. And by doing it stylistically on with a modern age comic book, I mean it has it's cool. But sometimes I think like Malcolm punching Overlord here, just bleed to the edge of the page. It looks so good.
It would look sweet. I think I can't really tell you if I would like it better or not, just because it's so noticeable, because like what you were saying, up until recently, except for maybe some of those issues in the beginning of the Savage World arc, he would do a full bleed on this kind of page, and so that he's not is kind of jarring, and you go, oh, it's like there was a page a couple issues ago of like Rex and everybody in Dimension X fighting monsters. It's just like one big page, and that's also like you would think it would be a full bleed, full page spread, but it has a box and it has a border around it, and I kind of just like it because it's different, and I kind of like going, that's a different way of storytelling, and that's neat. And so I don't know if I would actually like it more or less, but I do hear what you're saying.
But what's also interesting about the way it's laid out is if you notice, the white space at the top of the page is larger than the white space at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, I can see that throughout the book.
It's almost as if, like, back in the, even I recall back in the mid-90s, all your comics looked like that, and they were like little colored rectangles at the top of the page that were like some sort of color coding system they use in the printers. Mm-hmm. And it's like he's scooted everything down to make it look more like that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's intentional, that everything is scooted down. It could very well be, but I'm not sure if it is.
It was just out of alignment this issue.
Maybe.
I do agree, though. I prefer the full bleed pages on something like that. I mean, it's a splash page. Go for the full bleed, but, whatever. I mean, I'll take it either way.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, this whole issue is, it's the same old Overlord trying to push his view on, humans, freaks need to live, they need to work to help them live together, and it really makes me wonder who this Overlord guy is. I have no idea. I mean, I've gone through characters and who would talk this way. He sounds kind of like an immature kind of dude. Like, he just doesn't sound like, I don't know, a very mature type dude. Like,
you want to hear my theory?
Go ahead.
Blow it out. Let everyone. This is a
Say
spoiler,
spoiler,
everyone.
Brett.
Spoiler alert.
Turn down your volume if you don't want to hear it.
I think it's Chris Robinson.
Yeah.
See, I reread the series from issue 101 to like 145 here during the summer, and the timing of when Chris Robinson returned and when him and Alex left the book and Overlord's appearance is very, very coincidental if it's not intentional.
Interesting.
It's like Chris Robinson and Alex left, Overlord appears. Maybe it's misdirection, maybe it's unintentional, but there's just something there, and especially the fact that Chris's character is significantly changed in this universe, that you can practically do anything with him, including putting him into the Overlord armor and fighting for freaky human rights and that sort of thing.
But do you think it has the shock value for, like, the characters in the book now? Like, Malcolm has no idea who Chris Robinson is.
There's that
Well,
too.
I guess he kind of does. I mean, they were in the book briefly together, but, yeah, I'm just...
But then it opens up questions, where's Alex?
Right. And that issue where she said she never saw Dragon again, you know, and it seems like Dragon's going to be kind of coming back in a way.
Yeah, see, my theory was that if Dragon was really dead, there was an opening for Alex to come back, because now he's dead, she'll never meet him again, so that was misdirection. But now he's coming back, so now they can meet, so probably we can't see Alex again.
Well, there's any number of ways you could, you know, write that off or interpret that statement. Like, I sort of hope that, not to go too long on this, but I sort of hope that it's actually serious and we don't see her again, just because that would be the most powerful way, the most powerful route to go. And also, like, I really, you know, I'm a big fan of Alex and I don't want to see anything happen to her. And so my feeling is if she's out of the book, she's safe.
Her head can't randomly explode when you turn the page.
But at the same time, it could just be, like you said, you know, that was the last I saw of him, as in, you know, he died. The whole public knows that he died, you know, circa, you know, an issue in the 50s or the 150s or 160s. So it could have been a statement made referring to that.
Oh, that's a good
or it
point.
could have been a statement like that was the last I ever saw him. But, like, what if she made that statement now and then next year she sees him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it could be any, and we have no reason to think it's really far in the future, because when we see her talking, she's not all old and grizzled. She's pretty much the same as we've seen her now, so it's got to be around this time.
That's true. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's a good theory. I mean, I can't think of anyone really better. That, you know, my only other guess was like Powerhouse maybe, but, you know, I don't know.
They did have, the thing that was interesting about Powerhouse was this was a dialogue that he had with Dragon before.
Right.
And a few times. And it did seem to make some kind of logical connection, and then plus there's that mysterious meeting that he has with Overlord and everything. But just now you said the way that he's talking, he sounds immature, and that is really, I think, a good, that kind of puts the finger on it for this issue for me, because I was just reading this and it's the whole, like, do as I say, not as I do. You know, he's preaching this whole thing, but he's done all this terrible crap too. And, and the way that he's handling it, you know, he gets a lecture from the bully here, and he realizes that he's just fucking this up, and he's like, this was not supposed to happen. And before he takes off, and it does make me feel like maybe this is a less experienced character. Maybe this is a character who's younger, or just I don't know, doesn't have.
He's naive. I mean, that's coming across. He's got a pretty naive outlook on whatever dream he's fighting for, because it isn't going well for him. I mean, the vicious circle is split on him, and he keeps knocking down buildings when he's trying to do good.
Hey, he's just a weird character. He's kind of like really a superhero. He's not a villain. He's kind of like a Punisher type vigilante if you look at it.
Yeah.
But you just read his dialogue and it just sounds like almost like a teenager dialogue or something. Like he's like a peer of Malcolm's rather than like some 40-year-old guy or something like that.
That's a good point. Of course, we know who it isn't because he's got an airtight alibi.
Who's that?
Frank Jr.
Yeah.
So he's a little busy at the time.
Yeah, he does have a pretty good alibi, I think.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I'm clueless. You know, I thought maybe Joey Finkelberry, but he doesn't need a suit.
Doesn't need a suit.
Yeah.
He'd probably break out of the suit when he tried to move.
Yeah, and I mean, I just was trying to think of like younger type characters or whatever. I don't know.
I kind of want him to be someone that we know as opposed to a whole new character, because I kind of want his reveal to have, you know, impact. But again, it'd kind of be cool if he was all new. I don't know.
I feel like he's got to be somebody we know. I don't think that it would be built up with like the mystery if it wasn't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like it's like a good opportunity to kind of shock fans to give us somebody who we're not expecting. And that's what it's always been about with Overlord almost before, you know.
Right, after the first time, every time that someone else got in the suit, it was, who is it?
Yeah.
It's Brady.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Speaking of splashes, the second splash, the one, Adam, that you said you really enjoyed, I liked it too, is the one with Malcolm kind of giving, you know, Overlord that blow, the ram. Yeah. And that, when I first saw that, I'm like, I've seen this, you know, this splash somewhere before, and it's not exactly like it, but it made me recall issue 47, the issue with the giant mummy hand on the cover, with Dread Knight on the cover.
Dread Knight, all right.
The very first page is a full bleed splash of Dragon punching out Star, which was, we come to find
out, Kill Cat.
Yeah. And it's got the same kind of action lines and everything, and it just like
Dragon's fist up in the air, like I remember that.
Yeah, and that took me back to that, and I really love that splash, and I love this splash. I love the close up and the detail of Overlord, and, you know, it's just it's
the
awesome.
Crazy foreshortening, the big head, and then the little knee, like just it's very good.
At that, you know, he's better than anyone else I know when it comes to like the foreshortening and just making it look so odd, like it's coming at you in 3D.
Surprised he made it his head flying toward us and not his hand.
Yeah.
But that's all right. It's still sweet.
So we get a knockout, drag-out brawl between the two of them, and, you know, as we said before, the bully kind of steps in and kind of makes Overlord realize that he's being a moron or a retard.
Sure like that word.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
And I know people have been calling him, like on the forums and stuff, Spoon, and I know that's part of his name, but was he ever addressed in the book as just Spoon?
He refers to himself as that a couple of
really?
Yeah.
I guess I skipped over that or whatever.
So what was going to come of him breaking his hand on Malcolm's face?
Good question. You think he's gonna want to retaliate more against Malcolm, or do you think this is going to be the beginning of some like bizarre, like they're not friends but they have some level of respect for each other?
I'm pretty sure he's got no respect for anyone.
I think he's going to go out and get himself some superpowers or something.
Yeah,
I'll show this guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll show everybody I'm better than him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably won't end well.
I'm going to guess and say that down the line he somehow gains some kind of powers and becomes a supervillain. I could be wrong, but it seems like it's there. So then we move on to the last scene of the main story, which was a doozy. And you get Malcolm walking to an empty house, which he thinks is an empty house. And I love the close-up on his face on the panel where he kind of just walks in and is looking for Frank and Angel. And it just shows his eyes like, you know, whoa.
Seems kind of lonely in the third panel of this last page.
Yeah. Not sure what he thinks of all this, I think.
And then the real kick in the nuts.
And his father calls him on the phone, which is pretty cool because that connects with the backup story. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll see
if you were Malcolm, would you believe that it's your father? Would you be like, yeah, that's the crime, just hang up?
No, yeah, I'd react the way that he reacted to when Krull showed up and like tried to talk to him.
So that's the main story. pretty decent issue, I'd say.
Yeah, it was really good. Oh, I wanted to bring up something else, the coloring. For the last, year or two, Nikos Natis.
Kotsis?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it.
Sounds about right.
Has been doing the coloring. I've been fairly critical of the coloring for a while because I found that there was too much highlighting going on. It kind of looked like everyone was in a sunny day, even when they were indoors. I don't know. It just had this like bright, glary feel to it. But over the last couple of months, it seems to have
toned
down. He's pulling
down
back on that. Yeah.
And I'm liking the coloring a lot more.
Yeah, I think when I first saw his stuff, if you look at his first issue, I forget what number it is. It's the one with Adam Archer from Godland.
138.
Yeah. If you look at that issue, I loved that issue when it came out. I love the colors. And then, he's evolved over time, and then he had that period where, like you said, it got really lots of glares and lots of shiny effects, and it got to be a little overpowering and a little much. And I think he's kind of, like we just said, toned it down, and I like this issue. I like the colors in this issue a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. There's always a danger of, like you guys are saying, if you're doing a lot of rendering in the coloring, whether you're doing effects or just a lot of shading or highlighting, or you're doing a lot of textures, and he definitely likes to use his textures, there's always the danger of overdoing it and burying the artwork a little bit. I thought he was sort of starting to overdo it on some of those issues, but all of my complaints are gone. These last few have looked terrific.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I do like sometimes when he puts textures in, because sometimes Eric will do his real shorthand scribble.
Yeah.
And, Nikos will come in and give someone a nose ridge or something with the colors and the texture, or just make the facial expressions kind of like the wrinkle in the brow with the colors, just enforce that. And I don't know how Eric feels on that. I mean, some artists don't like when, their art gets messed with,
Well, he's still coloring the book, so he can't be too mad about it.
Right, yeah. I mean, but I kind of enjoy that, especially on some of the, when he's doing, real fast, loose pencils.
He always puts the, ink spatter, where there's fire or something exploding. Yeah. I think that looks great. And in this issue, there's a little bit of texture whenever you see trees and bushes, and it just gives them a little bit of definition. And
it
looks great. Yeah.
Move on to the
Vanguard backup. Yes, Vanguard. Always the highlight of the issue.
I enjoy the letters on this backup. I don't know who does it, but
he's good. That's for sure.
For those who don't know, listening to the podcast, Adam does the letters for the Vanguard backups.
Lucky son of a bitch. Just be involved in the process.
I enjoyed this backup. I think I've said that last episode, the last Vanguard. I've enjoyed every single one of these little mini serials. I wish this was a permanent feature almost, but I'll take it as we get it.
Do we know how many more issues that Vanguard's going to be appearing in?
We don't, for sure. I don't think. Let's see.
You don't have any inside information for us?
I've heard different things. I don't think there's going to be a ton of them left. I think that there's only probably a handful more, but I don't quote me on that because nobody really tells me anything.
I'm thinking maybe, if anything, it wraps up after the whole Tyrus Combine kind of
kicks off. That would make sense.
Right. I don't know.
Because this is
definitely tying into that.
Right. It's really meant to be a prequel to the whole Combine invasion.
Right.
So this one picks up where last month left off, which is interesting because I don't think it's done that yet. Had basically a two-parter. Most of them have been pretty standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a two-parter, but yet at the same time, there's still almost like a standalone story, It continues, but you could read them separately, I think, and still get a complete story out of each one of them. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you can. That definitely is the case.
But what you're saying, this one does take place moments after the last one finished, where the other ones aren't necessarily happening at the same exact time. It could be a few days apart, it could be a month apart, or whatever. But there are even the ones that are just kind of short and seemingly inconsequential. I think Gary is wanting to tie up some of these loose ends that have been dangling with Vanguard for a long time, such as Modem, and kind of work that into this story. So even though they're kind of standalone chapters, it is all part of one Vanguard story.
Right.
This backup. So
when this gets collected, it's going to be amazing.
Oh, that would be so sweet if that happened.
Yeah, almost like the Mighty Man one shot that was collected after all those little serials. That would be cool.
Hope it gets the same treatment.
We will see.
So we've got a bunch of Vanguard's people. One of them's a lady, and they are in big trouble.
And it turns out it's Vanguard's sister. And I found it interesting that, she wears the same kind of costume as Vanguard, and then those other guys have like battle type suits. And I wonder what separates them. If she's like an officer and Vanguard's an officer, and these guys are just kind of like
techies.
Yeah, I don't
consoles,
know. Yeah,
push the buttons.
Something like that. I think
they don't look as ripped as Vanguard does.
So we got we still have Lurch with his Hawaiian shirt on, and he seems to become like a part of the cast more. He's
definitely an individual now. Like he's not just there's our Morphling Lurch. He's like a guy with a mind.
The one thing I got out of this that I didn't realize before is actually how big Vanguard's ship is. I never realized it was that large because I never really had anything to compare it to.
It kind of hangs in space usually.
Yeah, same here actually.
They call it the Calypton battle cruiser too, and it's like, wow, you look at it versus that Tyranian or however you say them, their little ships and that little other pod that his sister's in, and it's huge. And I just never realized that from reading the comic all these years. I thought it was just a smaller kind of little craft.
Satellite even, not even a battle cruiser. I thought it was just kind of a outpost.
Mm-hmm.
Guess it's a bit more robust.
Yep. I gotta tell you that panel on that page where Vanguard's ship hits the Tyranian ship, I love that, the way it looks. It's kind of simple, but it just did something for me. You just feel the collision, you see the outline of the Vanguard ship, and the colors and everything. I don't know. It's something about that small, panel that just did it for me.
Yeah, that is a really cool panel. You mean the one where the battle cruiser appears behind the enemy ship and then shoots a missile at it and it blows up?
I thought he just collided with it, but
yeah, that's not clear. Whatever they did, they collided with it. They shot it. Maybe they just shot it. I don't know.
The way it looked to me is that they just collided into it and smashed it apart. But
yeah,
I thought
either way, it's fun.
And so, are those other two guys dead, or are they still alive?
No, they're still alive. They're in like critical condition.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is so tragic because his sister's finally come into the book and now she's dead.
Yeah, this one has a really nice. Just the last page of this is really touching, and I thought just kind of a lot more powerful story than we've seen in the Vanguard backups so far. And I mean, I love Van, and I'd be cheering this even if I wasn't working on it at all, because he's always been one of my favorite characters, in the comics that Eric and Gary do, and the backups have all been cool, but this was like, almost kind of teared up when I was reading this. This is great.
Yeah, it was good. I was a little confused, and I talked to other people, and they kind of cleared it up for me. I didn't realize that Lurch could absorb memories, and I don't think it was stated. I think maybe we're supposed to be surprised by that as well, reading the strip. But I was like a little lost of like, how did he know, her thoughts or whatever? But
I think that's been previously established. So that's what
I think they say it in the last one. I think he said in the one with Universo. I think it's stated at some point there that he absorbs he basically just becomes a clone of them now. Like he has their personality and their memories. And like when he first transforms, he doesn't even know that he's not them at first. Like,
all right.
And that causes trouble.
Yes, always.
So where do we go from here on Vanguard? It sounds like, this is kind of wrapped up. What's on the cover of the next Vanguard? Is that the one that we saw on the forums?
That's the one that's all red and black and awesome.
Yeah, that's the one with the big monster hand on his face.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe one survived or more came looking for the rest of them.
But I really like that you get the red and the black background with the inks only foreground. It looks really striking.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Malcolm, was it Thunderhead cover? The red.
Yeah, the cover for 171.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good to have this strip in the book. It's good to have backups in general. It really gives it value.
Yeah. It's always fun to read a book, and then even if you don't know especially if you don't know the strip is in the back, and then you flip through the letters or the ads or whatever, and more stuff. This is awesome.
More stuff.
Yeah. And I'm just I've also always been a big fan of Frank Fosco, so it's always fun to see him doing stuff.
Definitely.
Well, didn't he recently mention that after the Vanguard strip wraps up, he's got another project in the pipe?
Yeah, Frank's got a whole bunch of stuff going on right now, and I don't know when anything is coming out, but one thing I think we'll be able to post previews of relatively soon. It's a project where the writer is pitching it to publishers right now, and then if it doesn't get picked up, he's just going to publish it himself. So
right.
Either way, I'm sure Frank will have something to say about it soon. And then he's got this larger graphic novel, which is coming out from Arcana or Arcana. I don't know how.
I think it's Arcana.
Yeah, but it's basically the same. I'm lettering that, and David Seltzer, the guy who's coloring Vanguard, is coloring it, and so it'll look kind of it'll have the same kind of look as Vanguard, and it's a sci-fi epic, and it'll be really cool. Okay. It's going to be a long time coming because it's a big book, but it's going to be sweet.
So we want to do our first retro review. We've been talking about revisiting older issues of Savage Dragon and reminding ourselves why it was really, really awesome back in the day. I think we chose issue 20 because of its the cover that was homaged on issue 176.
Yeah, this is an absolute gem of an issue. There's a lot going on, a lot of different characters. It was fun to reread it. I hadn't read it in a while, and reread it today before the podcast, and I just forgot how cool it was with all the old characters. It was good to revisit it. You get the whole the Rapture, Dragon's old girlfriend Rapture, kind of just her same old jealous self that she was during the whole time she was in the book, and throughout the whole comic she makes these little comments about other women that Eric's talking to and that Dragon's talking to.
Yeah.
And wasn't the bit with Rita in the shower recently homaged in the book with Angel and Daredevil?
I wasn't sure if that was so much an homage, but it was very similar. Yeah, it was. I never compared the pages if there was anything. Were the pages very similar? I didn't look at the two pages.
I did not do a side-by-side comparison because I couldn't remember what issue the Angel exchange occurred in.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that too. But
this
sounds like something he would do.
I definitely remember the "Could you bring me a towel" part was the same words.
And just to I don't think we want to go page by page on this, but just to quickly kind of summarize it, and then we can talk about the cooler things in the book. But it revolves around Cyberface is locked up, and he wants to exchange his freedom for information on how to deactivate Overlord's suit and get to Overlord, and the cops are all in agreement that it's worth the price of freeing Cyberface in order to take down Overlord. In the meantime, a bunch of vicious Circle goons break in and cause havoc, break into the police department, and Dragon's got to save the day, and to wrap it up, they listen to Cyberface's advice and they travel to Overlord's headquarters and get ready to go attack them, and the issue ends at that. But we can kind of just focus in on some of the cooler parts, and I just wanted to bring to the attention of the vicious circle goons that were portrayed in this issue. I thought were great, and I always like to see these guys get face time.
Yeah, I think a number of these were like some of the characters that Eric created for the show, because this is while the show was running, and this was their like proper introduction in the book, like Vane and Volcanic. I may be wrong about that, but I seem to remember this being the first time some of these characters we'd seen them like in the book, and just coming out and attacking all the cops and kicking ass. And there's also that moment where it seems like the bad guys are just beating everybody, and then that one guy opens the door and gets his head blown away by Frank. And this was just a really cool moment, like when this issue came out, because this is the first time Frank's been, we've seen him like back at, like, he's been since, much earlier in the story, he's been on the run because of Overlord, and he faked his own death, the whole thing with Lurch, and then he had that knockdown, drag-out fight with Skullface for several issues, and so then, like, in the middle of the fight, we see Frank sort of appear, and he's, like, got his badge back on, and he's back in the, among the Chicago cops, and it was just a great moment. I remember when this issue came out, and you're like, oh, yeah, Frank's back, blam.
Yeah, you get to that, turn the page, and Frank's gun in your face, and you just see Strong Arm's head explode.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys getting their head blown off, apparently this is alternate universe Captain James Stewart bought his. Of course, as I understand it, this Captain Stewart is different than the current Captain Stewart.
Yeah, I don't think there's any relation. I just think they have the same name
and the same mustache, apparently.
Yeah, the current Captain Stewart is a bit more of a stand-up guy than the old one was kind of a putz. He's always shuffling characters off, like all the stuff with Freak Force when they were on the police force and stuff.
I just like that these particular Vicious Circle goons kind of shine, because for a lot of the series you always get like the Cutthroat and Mako and Low Blow and like the same kind of five guys, Brainy Ape, and they're the same five guys, it seems like, and these kind of guys are just like in the background as background scribbles, and like you actually get to see, Raw Dog, who's like a favorite of mine, the guy, the red dots on his head, and he's got that weird like tech armor. You get to see him a little bit in action, you get to see, we've seen Vane since, but you get to see her in action, It's cool to see those type of guys. Who's the Megatech, I guess? I think this is the only time we really see him in action besides other little scribbles, and he kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
But Eric's got a lot of really, really great designs that, most artists would kill for, and he just uses it for like a scribble background character.
He's like in one issue, and then he throws them away or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, damn, I want to see more of that guy, like, and you just don't ever see him again. You're like, son of a bitch, this guy's so cool.
How about the double-page spreads in this issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all busting through into the police station. That's sweet.
And then later on in the book with the SWAT team.
Yeah, that's
just a good image. Those are some big guns.
Freaking enormous guns.
It's great too, because with the build-up of what's happening, and then right at the beginning of issue 21, they just all get blown away immediately.
Yeah, within 2 seconds.
It's like there's all this build-up, like, oh, look at all these dudes.
I want to know what the story of the guy in the glasses and the turtleneck is. Why did he have to die so quickly?
It's John Day.
Yeah.
Is it?
He always dies.
Yeah.
I want to know the story of the guy that kind of looks like a werewolf. He just looks weird. He's the guy on the side of Eric. He's got kind of pointy ears.
Yeah,
I always call Dragon Eric. I don't know. I hear like Eric's voice or something in Dragon.
Well, yeah, pretty much is.
But I like the page where they're all in the helicopter, and it's classic Larson kind of humor that he throws in. And I miss that he doesn't do this kind of more, but it's one of the cops talking about the validity of Forrest Gump, and he's driving Dragon insane. You see his face, and he's just like, shut the F up. And like you said, they bust in, and then the next issue, they all get blown away, real quick. And that was just a surprise. And, this issue this one and the issue after, where it's, Dragon 1-on-1 against Overlord, kind of set up one of the really cool eras of the book, which I thought, was one of the best eras, was the gang war kind of series. So they get rid of Overlord finally, and then you have everyone fighting for control of the Vicious Circle. And I would have liked to see Eric kind of do a gang war too. And I know he doesn't like to recycle ideas or whatever, but seeing how everyone's fighting over the Vicious Circle now, it would be so awesome to see all like a bunch of villains just duking it out. But I don't think
having the Circle versus the Vicious Circle.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll see that, but like I said,
it would be cool to have some issues spotlighting a number of different villains. Like all kind of center attention instead of just a side story or they're the bad guys in the story or something.
Right.
Like that was one of the really cool things about the gang war, is that we just saw so many guys, and sort of like you were saying about in the guys attacking in issue 20, guys that we don't normally see center stage, getting involved in some action. And I love those little floating heads throughout the gang war of just like, here's thousands of dudes. Just there's the guy that has like a vagina butt on his head. all kinds.
What the guy? What's his name? Bulldozer, I think. He's got like a bucket head. It looks like he's a can on his head. And it's like and that's probably like the largest image we've seen of those guys ever. And then like I think when issues down the road, who was that? Solar Man kind of took out a bunch, and it was like the next time you see him is like 100 issues later, and they're just in a pile of blood taken out by Solar Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see all those crazy villains. But I think that wraps up kind of this issue 20, unless you guys had anything else to add.
No, I mean, the next issue, 21, that was the all splash page issue, right?
It's almost all splash. It's a few pages like near the end are normal pages, and also sort of when they're recounting Overlord's story. Those are like have inset panels on top of splash pages,
right?
And but it's a callback to issue 7, which was the all splash page issue, and sort of the rematch. So you got to start out with the all splashes, and
right.
Yeah, that was just an awesome issue.
I do want to mention something. I had a note written down that I forgot. On issue 20, there was a really cool panel, and it's the close-up on Octopus, and what he says is kind of cool because, 80 issues later, it kind of comes true. Well, not 80, maybe 70 issues later, but he's talking about Cyberface to the police.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have. You don't realize the magnitude of his power, what he's capable of doing, and he's like, he has
the power to rule the planet.
Yeah, and then whatever it was, 60 issues later, he's ruling the planet, So I didn't catch that until I just reread it, before our podcast, but I wrote a note on that. I thought that was kind of cool that,
Look at all that spit in Octopus's mouth. Remember when they used to draw spit in everybody's mouth every time the mouth was open? That was like, I don't know, from 1985 to 1995 or something. Like every single time somebody's mouth is open, there'd be tons of spit.
How else would you know they're talking?
Anyway, no, that is really cool foreshadowing of Cyberface there.
Unfortunately, it took a little while for him to get there. I mean, he got his head cut off at one point and stuck in a jar, and they had to be reanimated as a zombie, and then the universe had to be rebooted.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a while, but he got there. Made it.
Got there.
So that wraps up issue 20 overview. Put that back in our back issue box.
I'll stick these pages back in my trade paperback. I opened up my Revenge trade paperback to go over this issue, and the glue had disintegrated and all the pages fell out.
Yeah, those ones were not good. Did you? I'm assuming you have the one that just says "Revenge" in like big white letters.
Yes, that's
on the
one.
front. Yeah, when he reprinted these, he did it with the current Savage Dragon logo that's on the book, where it's kind of a squished version of the original logo, and then it says "Revenge" underneath. It's Savage, and those ones are bound a lot better. The pages don't, as far as I've seen. Yeah, we need the hardcovers
for posterity.
Sure.
And those little tip plates that are always hilarious in the hardcovers.
Yeah, the sign plates thing, those are great.
Yeah, those things are awesome. They're so offensive. So I guess that
wraps up. I think that wraps up 120. I mean, that wraps up 20 and 176. So what are we going to be talking about next week or next month?
177.
177.
I think that's the way the numbers go.
I have the solicitation text here. Apparently, Osama bin Laden is back and he's out to destroy America.
Of course he is. Of course.
I'm interested to see how this goes. I don't know. I'm a little shaky about it. It seems a little gimmicky, but it's always a good time with Eric. He'll make it fun, but we'll see.
Yes, we will see. Kind of a cool cover, though. But like you said, it does seem a little on the nose.
Right.
I think it's going to be pretty funny. I think it's going to be just a fun issue.
We'll see. I don't know if we have a street date for that, but it's probably in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Sooner the better. We can do it.
It's at the printers, so I'm sure.
Really?
I'm sure it will be something like 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know the street date either, but yeah.
Seems like Eric's trying to get caught up. Seems like issues are coming out fast or at least regular.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to get him going on a good clip. I think there was one issue earlier in the year that was a month or two late. I don't remember, 172 or I think the first Vanguard book was late, and he's just wanting to get on a more regular schedule again, and so he's doing them at a faster pace now.
Which is interesting because, like I said, the line work seems a little bit more intricate now.
Yeah,
it was the last couple of months,
funny.
So he seems to be speeding up and being more detailed, which is the best of both worlds. So I think that wraps up episode 1 of the Savage FINcast. We will be back next issue.
I just want to remind people to check out dragonfan.net. Take a cruise around for all your Savage Dragon information. And also any new readers or even longtime readers that, even during our podcast want to look up some information on stuff we're talking about from past issues, check out the Savage Dragon Wiki. That's savagedragonwiki.wikispaces.com. And then also the last thing is Twitter. We're on there as Dragon Fan blog. That's for the Dragon Fan Net. That's our Twitter. So check it out.
I will make sure to add links to all those to the website. So if you just want to go to the FINcast website, you'll be able to click the links. Go right there.
Cool. It was great talking
Sweet.
to you guys.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Can't wait for the next issue. Hopefully Nick will be back with us.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get Gavin in the mix.
Definitely.
Yeah. Pick his brain. That'll be good. He'll be able to answer just about every question, I think.